I love French fruit desserts because there's a different fruit for every dinner and a different fruit for every season. I love cooking fruit for dessert, from berries to cherries to plums, right through to oranges. Today I'm making a whole series of French desserts, enough to last a whole year. Tarte Tatin, perhaps the most famous French tart of all, caramelized apples flipped upside down. Ideas for summer fruits, including a berry gratin with Champagne Sabayon, a regal-looking winter fruit compote of chewy figs, sticky prunes, and bright kumquats, and finally, baked stone fruits with toasted almonds and creme fraiche. That's a collection to get you through the whole year.
Seeing the signs again. Come over, and we'll meet again. Da da da, da 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 da. Bow down the doo doo.
Fruit desserts are my favorite. Somehow, no matter how luscious you make them, they still have an innocence about them. I'm making a Tarte Tatin, which is an apple tart, one of the many the French have. This is a special one because it's made in a special Tarte Tatin pan, and you caramelize the apples and then put the pastry on top. It's very cool. The best apples for Tarte Tatin are Royal Gala or Granny Smith or Golden Delicious, which is what I'm using, because they will hold their shape. These apples get cooked quite a long time in caramel, and you don't want them turning to applesauce. This is a really nice Tarte Tatin pan, which I got at my favorite kitchen shop in Paris. And what I like about it is that it has these little ears on it, which makes it easy to pick up. And it has a copper bottom. It's stainless steel lined, but the copper will just distribute the heat perfectly. You don't need one of these to make it. You can obviously make it in any frying pan with a metal handle though, because you have to be able to put it in the oven. And cast iron is also great. So you just melt the butter. Have sugar ready, a generous cup. So I've just put the sugar in, I'm stirring it around into stiff slush. And then you just let it cook. Enjoy the melting. It looks so strange. I remember the first few times I made this, I thought, I'm ruining it, it's all wrong, it can't be right. But it is. Now that it's nice and dark, and I like it dark rather than blonde because blonde is sweeter tasting, add the apples like this so that the core is running sideways. And you really want to pack the apples in there as tightly as you can, and then be prepared to add more because they really shrink. Be really careful because caramel is obviously incredibly hot. Halfway through you turn all the apples. It means that then all the apple is caramelized. While the apple's finished, I'll get my pastry ready. I just have regular pastry here. Just roll it into a round. I'm going to stick it in the fridge because I want it nice and firm when I lay it on the tart, because then it's going right on hot apples and I don't want it to melt away, which it will be inclined to do. Now I can turn these apples with a couple of forks, so I'm keeping my distance. Nice dark apples. I'll just let those continue caramelizing on the underside, and I'll roll out my pastry. I'm just going to put the oven on 400 degrees, because basically what it's doing is cooking the pastry on top, nothing else. And the nice thing about this tart is that you can make it way in advance, and the crust won't go soggy because you don't actually have to turn it out until just before you eat it. So you just drape the pastry over the top, and then tuck it in the sides. It's like putting your little apples to bed. That's ready to go in the oven. I'm just going to put a baking sheet under it in case it bubbles up at all. That needs about 15 to 20 minutes until the crust is crisp and golden. While that's in the oven, I'm just going to enjoy this gorgeous day. Perfect. The smell of apple pie. The apples are dark and caramelized all the way through on the bottom and on the top, and they still hold their shape. Every bite is just going to taste so rich and dark. It's sweet. Oh, it's good. It's just like the ones in France. It's like being transported right back. Next, I'm doing all summer desserts, including a berry dessert with champagne Sabayon. I want to show you some great ideas for summer desserts, starting with berry Sabayon. Actually, it's a champagne Sabayon with a bit of lemon, and you just pour it over some berries and then stick it under the broil for a minute or two, and it gets a gratinade top. It's really simple and very impressive to look at, and tasty and light. So for this gratin, you need some gratin dishes. So you just choose what you like. Nice raspberries. And blueberries. And blackberries. And some cherry. I think that should have the pits out. And I just have a few humps of cherry poking out top. And I also have currants. I love that little squirt of sourness and a bit of dryness mixed with the other sweeter fruits. For part two, just have your berries at the ready. You need a very hot oven, you need it on broil. And then for Sabayon, you need egg yolks and sugar and a bit of wine usually. I'm going to use champagne to be super glamorous. But you need just the yolks. And the yolks are going in a bain-marie. Say 3 yolks. Just a couple of tablespoons of sugar. Just going to take this off there because it's warm. So whisking those together. Now, the fun part, champagne. I just need about 3 tablespoons. I think I'll measure. Of course, you can't measure. The bubbles, anyway. 1, 2, 3. Now, this just goes over this warm water bath on a heat. And you just whisk and whisk and whisk. And it makes the mixture on top triple in volume. I'm just going to grate in a little lemon zest for extra summeriness. Okay, now just a few spoonfuls of Sabayon, and it will settle down in around the berries. The oven's on broil, the rack's up high, and these need about 30 seconds, so you have to keep an eye on them. It's only just enough time to pour yourself a glass of champagne. Here's to summer. Ah! What did I tell you? Seconds. And then she runs off drinking. Nice. Sweet, lemony, and champagne-y. Nice fresh berries. There are times when you don't actually have the energy even to do something as simple as that, but there are still ways with fruit that you can make really elegant, tasty desserts. It's just a matter of cutting things the right way and paying a bit of attention to how you serve them. Presentation is really all important when it comes to fruit. For instance, a watermelon. It's just a watermelon, right? Well, what can you do with it? Cut it up! If you want to do something, if you really are feeling guilty that all you did was slice something in two, then you can do a little trick. This is rose water. It's a bit like orange flower water. It's just the scent of blossoms. And then you see, if you carry that to the table, it looks like you cared. It looks like you thought that watermelon was really worthy of a silver platter. And it is. So that's one idea. And here's another one. With melon, if you just cut off the end, and then you have to cut a little sliver off the bottom so that you can set it upright, then hollow it out and turn the melon half into its own serving dish. Got those strawberries, perfect summer dessert. Here's one more idea, this one with figs. All you have to do is cut it in quarters, but it's nice if you don't go quite all the way through. And then, a little fromage blanc. It's a bit like a French cottage cheese, except it's not curd-like, it's just fresh and whipped, almost like a really, really heavy cream, or like a mascarpone. And then honey. It's just so simple and so perfect. Next, I've got some winter fruit ideas and a recipe for winter fruit compote with ice cream. There's so many possibilities with French fruit desserts, and the great thing is that you can cook all year long. You just follow through with the seasons and eat along as you go, all through the year. Kumquats, dried figs, and prunes, they make a great compote. So I'm just going to prepare the kumquats, and what I have to do for that is just remove some of the seeds and take the little stem off the back. And also you can eat the skins, they're delicious, especially once they're cooked in this syrup. So whatever you do, don't peel them. Anyway, I'd like to see you try. You just want a balance of fruit. I mean, you don't have to measure everything, but I don't know, say 2 handfuls of each fruit. Dried figs. Such nice color mixes. And then the prunes. And then with this, a bit of lemon zest, because it just lightens it up a little bit. I think lemon just has that effect. Orange seems to mellow things out a bit, and lemon livens it up. That looks good to me. And a bit of sugar, just half a cup, not much, because they're already quite sweet. I want to have a syrup all around the fruits, so that's going to come from the sugar dissolving in some cognac, a 1/4 cup of cognac, and then 2 cups of water. So you're just going to get a slight liquor taste from the cognac, very faint, and then a sweet syrup from the sugar and water. And now it just needs some heat. It looks like a lot of liquid at first, but it will cook down, and it looks so beautiful because it doesn't candy the fruit, but it just gives them a coating so that they're really slick and plump and deep colored like jewels. It's beautiful in a cut glass bowl. So while that cooks, I'm going to get some toasted almonds together because toasted almonds are fruit's best friend. The oven's at 400 and then keep an eye on them. And the oven rack is more or less in the middle. It's not high up right under the fire. Now, this just needs a few more minutes and it will be just right. Nuts! Ooh, just in the nick of time. Phew! See that? They're all nice and evenly browned without being, in my usual style, burnt. That's beautiful. And all these wonderful colors of dark figs, black prunes, and orange kumquats. Now, of course, this would not be complete without a little something cool. This is hot right now, but it's usually eaten either at room temperature or tiède, which means just lukewarm. And I think it needs ice cream. And then just a handful of almonds, which you can serve in a bowl just passed around. Over top. I love how intense the fruit gets when it's dried like that and brought back to life with a little cognac syrup. It's a great winter dessert. If you can't handle that, I have 2 winter fruit ideas that are really simple but perfect at the end of a meal. The first one is pineapple, and it's no more difficult than just cutting it in a nice way and making it easy to eat. So if you serve it nicely cut for people, it's a wonderful way to end dinner and it's not difficult for them. You don't need any fancy plate, you just serve everyone a wedge of pineapple like that. And if you want to dress it up a bit, a little rum. And just dribble it over the fruit. It's just sweet and fresh, and it's really what people are looking forward to at the end of dinner. Here's another idea, which is North African based, but you see it in France quite a lot. And that's just sliced oranges with cinnamon. And you just take all the skin off, including the white pith, and then just cut nice slices. And then just a little cinnamon. It looks plain, but it will taste delicious and very fresh at the end of a dinner. Next, I'm making baked stone fruits. Peaches, apricots, and plums. You're going to love it. I've been playing around with all kinds of French fruit desserts today because fruit is such a great way to end a meal any time of year. Next, I'm making baked stone fruits, a mixture of peaches, apricots, and plums. Stone fruits are the ones which have really thin skin, very juicy flesh, and which wrap around a stone. So I'm just going to lay them in a baking dish, cups up. And it's nice because they're all from the same family, but you can mix them up and bake them together. Then you have all that variety. Now it hardly needs any sugar. Instead of cane sugar, I'm going to use fruit sugar. It dissolves more easily, and this is the sugar that you see in Europe most often. And then just on top, just a pinch of butter too. That way it will drip down the sides and ooze along the skin. But this is nice because it just involves cutting them in half, butter and sugar, and poke in the oven. Speaking of which, I need the oven on. 350. The last thing I want to do is just pour a little water, just a spoonful. Now, cover them up. When they're nice and soft, then they're just right. scatter over some almonds just like this. Peach. And these exceptionally cute apricots. And creme fraiche. I love it. It's not too sweet. It just gets a little tangy burst of fruit taste and tangy cream and that sweet juice all around it. I think that's an excellent fruit dessert. I've made Tarte Tatin, that famous French apple tart, Champagne Sabayon with fresh berries in a gratiné, lots of summer fruit ideas with watermelon, berry stuffed melon, and figs, winter ideas with pineapple and oranges and cinnamon, as well as a winter fruit compote and a sweet syrup, and baked stone fruit dish, which is so colorful and bright. Just a great way to end summer outside. I've hardly had any time in the summer outside. I'm gonna take my fruit and have it. Ha!